Om Shanti, everyone, and welcome back on the day 2 of 21-day goal to cleanse tough habits. Hopefully, you did get a chance to revisit things that we had practiced and learned yesterday. And we are going to just do a very brief recap. Sorry. Recap of from yesterday. We saw how thought is the seed for the right habits, which create our destiny. Why we need spiritual wisdom as a foundation for thoughts in our meditation. Because today our mind is under the influence of a bully. We call it negative thoughts or Maya. We are learning to think spiritually and re-educating our consciousness through spiritual knowledge and meditation. So, a question to all of you before we go into meditation. Why is it that despite so many positive thinking courses and shelves filled with self-development books, we are struggling to change thoughts and habits? Like to use this analogy for the answer that no problem can be solved from the same consciousness that created it. We must learn to see the world anew. Would like to underline consciousness. So if we want to change and solve the problems, we have to come from a different consciousness that we have today. So in this meditation, we are going to focus on this new consciousness, which is the original consciousness. So let's take a moment and check if there is any sound in your surrounding or people walking around. Anything in your surroundings. Just check if the mind is creating any waste about those sounds. Notice it and then let it go. With deep acceptance. Now bring the attention to the body. And allow the tension of the day to be released from the body. It has served you very well. Feel any knots of tension dissolving. And become aware of the gentle rhythm of your breathing. In and out. And this brings your attention into the now. Beginning of all spiritual wisdom is understanding who you truly are. We know thoughts, which are the seed, need a fertile ground to blossom into a beautiful tree of elevated habits. sanskaras. And what is that fertile ground? Is the awareness of the self as a soul, invisible, inner being, giving life to this body. If the soul is not there, the living energy, the one that thinks, the one that feels, the body is a corpse. Body does not say, I want a cake, or I want to go on a holiday, or I like this person, or I need a job. All of this is being created by this inner being, the real self, who thinks, who feels. The mind by itself is nothing. It's just a function of the soul. It's like a spark from the consciousness of the soul. The moment the inner being, this beautiful star that we are, inhabits the body, it's like a current of energy hits the filament and you get light. So the soul is the living energy. When it gets activated within the body, mind thinks a thought. And when one remembers one is a soul, this is the new consciousness. Then I am not controlled by my mind, because my mind is like my child. When I forget I am a soul, it's like a mother running around the kid, totally forgotten she's mother, feeling completely helpless. Mind is going in 10 different directions. So we keep coming back to who am I? And yes, the mind will play its games. But we keep coming back to the peaceful, divine, loveful being of light that each one of us is. It's just that we have forgotten who we are. And so we use the spiritual wisdom and meditation to reawaken the true consciousness. Just like in the physical body has a certain posture. And if we keep that posture, then there is no pain in the physical body. But what happens is over some time, we create wrong postures and eventually it leads to pain. And that pain tells us that we have developed certain wrong habits in our posture. And that's the same thing. And then we have to seek help to be able to come to a comfortable position again with the physical body. Just like the physical body has a certain posture, similarly, the soul too, that invisible presence, that invisible star that we all are, that inner being, that being of consciousness that is keeping this body alive. When that tiny point of light that each one of us is, the real posture, the correct posture for the soul is to be loveful, to be peaceful, to be pure, to be blissful, and to be happy. And in meditation, what are we doing? We are really making this practice very powerful in our experience of who am I. And this experience becomes a very, very powerful reference point for us to know what is the correct posture and what is not the correct posture. Today, we only know one way of living, and that is the way of the bully, the negative thinking that is everywhere around us and within us. This is how we are always thinking nowadays. But what we are now coming back to is our original posture, correcting the posture. And that is a loveful, peaceful, happy, pure state of every soul. And we can see that when we don't use a certain muscle, it atrophies over time. Similarly, when we don't use these qualities and we forget who we are, then this muscle of love, muscle of peace and purity, it kind of shrinks. It's still very much there because it's the original quality of the soul, but there's a lot of dust that has settled on the soul today. So, so why is it useful to know? How is it going to change my thoughts and my habits? We are going to look at that because thoughts are, we'll first give an example. It's like an angry person. We see somebody becoming angry. Now we know that the original posture of every soul is peace and love. Now, but we are seeing somebody getting very angry. So how are we going to say that they are peaceful soul, they are loveful soul, unless we know the true nature of the soul? And so when we see them, we know that they are out of alignment spiritually. So then that they must be in pain. Because when there is a physical alignment, there is pain. Similarly, when the soul is not experiencing its peace, its love, then it is in pain. And because it's in pain, it is becoming angry and lashing it out. It's not out of choice. That nobody wants to be angry. That is why we don't have peace management courses. We have anger management courses because nobody's comfortable with anger. Nobody's comfortable with greed. Nobody's comfortable with all these bad habits that the soul has created and over time as it has forgotten who it is. So the more we remember and the more we experience who I am, my original posture, the more I'm able to see myself and catch myself also the moment I am beginning to move towards wrong posture. And we will see how that happens. So we see that whenever there's a wrong posture, there is pain in the body, right? And we know that this part needs attention because there's some pain because of the wrong posture. And we see somebody limping, we see somebody in pain physically, we run to help them. We have that nature to want to help everyone when we see physical discomfort somebody is going through. But when we when we truly understand that all pain is a gift. So, for example, in my case, whenever there's any kind of irritation that is coming up, or any kind of even slight signal of the misalignment at the soul level is coming up, immediately it's the first signal for me to know that there is a misalignment from who I truly am. And then immediately correct the posture because one has been practicing meditation for some time now. So there's a very powerful reference point of knowing that no, this is the way to really feel comfortable, happy, and being yourself. That is the reference point that you keep going back to. And that is why we need meditation. And when you have that reference point, what happens is that you will come back to your original posture very quickly. You will be able to detect at a very first signal as the pain starts. So we don't go through our life living in pain, and then when it becomes unbearable, and then we need sometimes surgery, or sometimes it's not even possible to cure it, even on physical level. Similarly, on the level of soul, the good thing is that we can always cure it no matter where we are, because the soul is eternal and imperishable, unlike the body. And so we always check at the keeping the reference point of our experience in our meditation. Am I feeling comfortable? Any feeling of sorrow, sadness, pain? Immediately stop, check, and change. Stop, check, and change. And that is what we are developing beautiful habits by becoming soul aware. And we will see why it's important. Because if we really look at the thought is not based on coming from thin air. Human and being, we are all human beings. Human is the part of the matter. Human means humus, body, matter. And being is the eternal being. Being is the eternal soul who's not physical, who's non physical being. And human is the physical part of the human being. Now, today, because I have forgotten that I am this beautiful soul, and so I'm starting to identify myself with my roles, with my positions, with my labels, with different masks I wear. And my thoughts are coming from that awareness. We'll give a very good example to illustrate it and make it very quick and simple to understand in our daily life how it works. So we have the study group that I'm part of. And there is one soul who is before she came into spiritual wisdom, she used to complain in her mind about her daughter in law's habits of worry and forgetting and getting angry because she was always looking at her as her daughter in law and herself as a mother in law. So she was identified with this body's role of being a mother in law. Let's say Susan is the mother in law and this is the daughter in law. And so she was identifying with that false identity of the body. And so her thoughts were all coming from that awareness that I am a mother in law, my daughter in law should be in a certain way, and she had certain expectations from her daughter in law. So, all these false identities that we have created as a mother, as a daughter, all these false identities carry their own burden of expectations, and that is what creates these thoughts of dissatisfaction, discontent, insecurity and desires and stress and anxiety. If my job is not doing well, I'm identified by my job. And so I start feeling stressful. Instead, if I am aware, and so we'll let you know what happened with this mother-in-law. So she came into knowledge, and then she said that she started practicing the soul consciousness and see how it works. So she said that the bully, the negative thoughts did not stop suddenly, that body conscious awareness was still there, but she would consciously speak about how to change the awareness from soul to her mind. And she would tell herself that no, I am an eternal soul and this is an eternal soul. And if she's getting angry, then she's in pain. She needs help. She's not experiencing her eternal truth of being peaceful. So I can do that for her in my thought process, and thoughts are more powerful than words. And so she started practicing that in her mind. And she started feeling a lot of compassion and love for her. Her feelings changed just because of her awareness changing. Her thoughts changed, her feelings changed, and her destiny, her relationship with her daughter in law became so beautiful. And she said she needed to speak a lot less. She didn't need to please her. She didn't need to do anything. Of course, the bully did not just suddenly change its ways and stop bullying in her mind. But what she realized that because she was practicing soul consciousness every day, her awareness was changing. And with her awareness changing, her thoughts were changing. And yes, she had to work on staying awake and seeing the soul who was getting upset and angry and understand their pain, that they are not experiencing their truth. And that is why they are feeling this pain. And to keep this self awake is meditation, to change habits. So soon we check and we change. What awareness? Am I speaking from the awareness of a mother? Then all those expectations are right there. Then I will have expectations from the daughter, and then I will have expectations from the husband as a wife. All of that will come in the picture. But when I come from the soul aware state, then I understand that the soul I am is a peaceful being, an immortal being, and others too are peaceful and immortal. And when that awareness and acceptance of your own truth and acceptance of the other's truth is there, then we know that we are in the right awareness. We are giving the fertile ground to the seed of our thought to really come and blossom into a beautiful destiny and habits. So from here, we will take a moment into going into experiencing this most powerful state of soul consciousness, which is what's going to really be the basis for us to change our destiny. So let's take a moment. And in this moment, in this moment of silence, one sees the self as a soul. A soul. Keeping this experience alive. So that I move from the paradigm of being a human, occasionally feeling, yeah, there is a soul somewhere. And peace sometimes, temporary peace. To actually making it a permanent experience. It is about knowing the self as this invisible inner being of light. Accepting the self as this pure, peaceful being of light. And becoming, living like a soul. Lots of people believe in a soul. There are very few who know they are souls. And body is just a car. The soul is the driver. And even fewer who live as a soul amongst souls. So what we are doing is moving into the direction of living as a soul. What happens when we live as a soul? When we see others' bad posture, we don't copy their posture. In fact, if somebody is sitting with their back completely hunchback, it brings awareness to us and we make our back even more straight. And so when I see somebody getting angry, upset, jealous, I don't copy them and come out of alignment myself. I have a higher perspective now, and I know the right posture, and I understand their pain. So I stay in the right posture and help them with my thoughts and vibrations by seeing their eternal truth to come if they choose to do so in the right posture. A new habit is being developed, and one does not need to be able to practice this the whole day. In the beginning, even few minutes of this practice becomes a strong reference point for us to check when we are in misalignment. Earlier, we did not have this option because we didn't know what the right posture is. But today, we know the original posture of the soul is peace, love, purity, bliss, happiness, and joy. And one is not feeling that. One is uncomfortable and try to find ways to experience that from the outside world. But they are very temporary and not lasting. The peace is the natural religion of the soul. Yes, others have fallen asleep and are not awake to their original religion of peace. So they have made negativity their religion out of ignorance, not out of choice. But I, the soul who is awake now, have made positivity my religion. Nothing can change that. It brings a rock-solid confidence in the self the more one experiences the true self. Practice of meditation is just about remembering who am I truly. Om Shanti. Thank you very much. And we'll meet you all again tomorrow. Hope you get the chance to practice the right posture.